looking at innovative approaches to recruitment of diverse talent. So I think it's quite appropriate that we actually have Christina Donaghy, who's the Social Impact Manager for VGC, because at the end of the day, VGC, organisation which employs people, brings people to site, and really important. When we look down for those tiers, we were seeing those messages of like, where do people sit within the tiers, so it's important that we get to understand the data. Christina will be joined by Shelley Caton from BAM, and Shelley's the Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and she'll chair the discussion panel afterwards. And also Ashley Norris-Seal, who's the EDI partner for Balfour Beatty, then Natalie Jones from National Highways, Head of Talent, and also Rupesh Patel, who's actually a Commercial and Procurement Strategy Director at Network Rail. So we've got a very interesting panel for you with a diverse section of roles, because remember, right back at the beginning of today, I said how important it is for us to take people on this journey with us. So if you'd like to put your hands together and welcome Christina up onto stage. Thank you.
Hello. So my name's Christina. I'm the Social Impact Manager for the VGC Group. And as Ian said, we're a leading recruitment partner to Tier 1 clients on major infrastructure projects across the UK. Within my role, I look after our social impact and EDI activity nationally. And I'm delighted to be here to present some of the attraction and recruitment data. Perfect. So, as we mentioned earlier today, the full report will come out, but some key highlights are on the screen here. For ethnic minority groups, the percentage of applicants from ethnic minority groups increased to 55.8% in 2024, compared to 52.5% in 2023. This indicates progress in attracting ethnic minority groups to the sector. However, the hiring ratio for ethnic minority applicants is 88.4 applicants per hire, which, although is an improvement from last year's 90.1, still significantly outpaces the figure for white applicants, which is 26.3 per hire. So this means that it's 3.4 times harder for ethnic minority groups to enter the sector compared to their white counterparts. In terms of women applicants, the percentage of women applicants also increased, reaching 27.6% in 2024, up from 24.5% in 2023. Women experienced a hiring ratio of 32.7 applicants per hire, which, while still challenging, is actually better than the 44.2 ratio for men. But you will see on the next slide that in real terms, there's more male applicants, therefore more men within the industry. However, this reflects a slight decline from last year's hiring ratio for women, which was 24.8 applicants per hire. In terms of applicants with disabilities, there was a notable rise in applicants with disclosed disabilities, increasing from 1.8% in 2023 to 5.5% in 2024. There was a question about this morning. Only 4.1% of applicants did not have the legal right to work in the country. And the sample sizes for gender and ethnicity data were robust, with 591,000 and 646,000 applicants respectively. Oh, sorry, there's a number. So this table highlights the hiring ratio trends over the past 5 years. While there was some variability across the years, ethnic minority groups have consistently experienced the highest hiring ratios, meaning they face the greatest challenge in securing roles compared to other groups. Compared to last year, ethnic minorities has decreased by 2 points, which is an improvement, but it remains significantly higher than that of their white counterparts. In terms of women, the hiring ratio has increased, reflecting a negative trend and suggesting it's become harder for women to be hired this year. Similarly, with people with disabilities, the hiring ratio has increased to almost double, indicating greater barriers to employment compared to previous years. And the hiring ratio for men has also increased, but this is not a primary concern as it remains relatively low compared to other groups. The increase in hiring ratios for both men and women suggests it has become more difficult to secure employment overall this year, regardless of demographic group. Here you can see on the left-hand side the number of submissions for each category. we have a series of columns that display the raw numbers as well as the ratios for each section. So if we took the last line as an example, for every 5.9 disabled applicants, one was shortlisted. For every 2.6 shortlisted, one was interviewed. For every 3.3 interviewed, one was hired. And then the overall ratio is on the right. The larger the ratio, the harder it was to move between each stage. And we can use this data to identify bottleneck areas where biases may be introduced. So as an example, ethnic minority group biases may be occurring in the shortlisting stage, as this is the largest ratio for this group, and it's much higher than that of white. For disability, there's an increase in the interview to hiring stage, which could be linked to adjustments being requested. It's also key to remember that 55.8% of the applicants were from ethnic minority groups, and 27.6% were women. So this data provides a detailed breakdown of hiring ratios within ethnic minority groups. The red values represent ratios higher than the overall hiring ratio of 88.4, indicating significant challenges to securing employment. Amber values fall between the hiring ratio for white applicants, which is 26.3, and the overall ratio for ethnic minority groups. This year, the hiring ratio for ethnic minority groups as a whole is lower than that of white applicants, which marks an important shift. Notably, Arab applicants face the greatest difficulty, with it being 4.6 times harder for them to be hired compared to the general benchmark. So that wraps up that data. I think I'm passing to Shelley Cleveson. Perfect. Thank you.